Now, there's a lot of people that seem to be getting, and they shouldn't be, seem to be getting bail conditions from the police that are unlawful. So there was a particular case, and there's 2 or 3 cases that I've brought up previously, and I'm pulling something together for people. Don't trust British solicitors, British lawyers, right? But there are certain things that you have to do. So don't just sit back waiting for the old bill, right? We need to challenge this head on, right? And especially anyone who is referenced as they need a press pass to be recognised as the press, right? That's called a monopoly. The monopoly is outlawed, and especially in relation to the press, that's ancient law, right? Freedom of the press is one of our rights, and any person can be a member of the press. You just need to tell people the truth, and it's just how happens that citizens journalists are now communicating that, right? They are communicating the truth. They're going along to these places and being arrested or being prosecuted and having bail conditions on them because they're building up an online presence, and the police are trying to shut that down. Now, if the police shut that down and are shutting that down, which they are in many cases, that goes back to another ancient law called restraint of trade, right? So all of these laws are still in existence. The last person who used restraint, a famous person, was Wayne Rooney, right? So don't think that anything except you ain't got the money to pay for the type of barristers that Wayne Rooney. If you've got money, you get justice in this country now. That's why I don't charge for what I do, right? And it's why I'm skint. But there you go. That's just one of the lives of what we do. Right Honourable Lord Justice Bean and the Right Honourable Mr. Justice Warby. Now, Justice Bean and Mr. Warby was responsible for another judgment where they said it is not unlawful to tell a police officer to fuck off, right? Or indeed, as one person did, told them to fuck off and called them dickheads. When it turned out that they actually arrested someone under a Section 5, right, and then held him in custody for 3 days. You all know I'm talking about English Bulldog. And they had to cave the case in because the investigation did, it was a false arrest because Section 5 is summons only, right? Summons only. And summons only means they write out your details and send it off to you, or they write out a ticket there and then, and you're being summoned to a magistrate. Now, the importance of the case I've got in front of you is this is, again, Catherine Elizabeth Scotto and Crown Prosecution Service approved judgment, right? So, again, it was an appeal against the conviction of Kate Scotto, aged 39, on the 7th of February 2020 after a trial in the Magistrates Court at St Albans. She was convicted by District Judge Margaret Dodd of one offence of improper use of public communications network, contrary to Section 1272C of the Communications Act 2003. This provides that a person commits an offence if, for the purpose of causing annoyance, inconvenience, or needless anxiety to another, she persistently makes use of public electronic network. Miss Scotto now appeals by the way of case stated, right? Now, the case stated is what I do. But people must realise you can do a case stated before it even gets into the magistrates, but you've only got a set period of 8 days to get it in. Don't believe me, ask English Bulldog, right? And again, we won his case. I put in a claim, which was approved by the magistrates, of £1,800 for legal fees. The magistrate approved the costs, and the CPS and whoever in the background refused to pay me, right? So the work that I do, right, because everyone was saying to him, like his solicitor and all that was saying, plead guilty, plead guilty, plead guilty, and all that bollocks, right? And you've got real people that are working for you with the real law, by the way. But this appeal illustrates this. I'm trying to bring this up so everyone understands it, right? This is an important paragraph, and I want certain people out there should be listening to this, but I don't want to give too much of a clue away, right? This appeal illustrates the need for decision makers in the criminal justice system to have regard in cases where they arise to issues of freedom of speech. In that context, I add, by way of footnote, that when reading the judgment of Nitin J in Hayden versus Dickerson, another case, right, which Warby J has cited, I was surprised to read at paragraph 39 that the defendant, who, like Miss Scotto, had been arrested following a complaint made by a Miss Hayden. So the same person was making the same complaints about different people, was released on pre-charged bail. This is the important part. Was released on pre-charged bail, one condition of which was that she was not to post on social media anything relating to the claimant. Emphasis added, right? It will have to be decided in some other case whether a condition of this kind can be justified under Article 10 or Section 36 of the Bail Act 1976, right? Now, I went into a lot of detail on another show about this, and basically the police are abusing their powers, and no solicitor out there, no barrister out there, because you lot ain't got the money to do it, are challenging these people. So you need someone like me to put this case together and show you. Right, so Tommy Robinson was, as far as I can see, unlawfully arrested, unlawful force, under Antisocial Behaviour Crime and Policing Act 2014. A Section 35 needs to be authorised prior to a Section 34 being issued. Right? It has to be authorised prior. In other words, a police officer can't just issue with it. In any event, he had reasonable excuse, being a journalist. They should also have regard for freedom of expression and freedom of assembly set out in Article 10 and 11 of the European Convention of Human Rights. I would lead with the English Bill of Rights and the English common law rights, and secondary, I would have them laws in there, right? Just in case you've got a dodgy judge. There are many other things, not least of which English Bill of Rights 1688, also a convention law. There was no injunction previous to that day, right? So it's really important. If there's no injunction, you're not breaching anything on that day. Therefore, there was no power of arrest, as it's a summons only, unless an injunction is in place. There was no injunction in place. So they unlawfully arrested Tommy Robinson. I put all this out, by the way, and he published it, then took it down, and then got a British barrister representing him, give him this lot, and the barrister got a chunk of money.